Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Pinky Moss Cakes, Cookies, and Candy, also known as Pinky Moss Sisters in the Kitchen. And thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm going to give it just a second here. I know everybody's anxious to hear an update on my sister. And so I am going to give y'all a little update on her, and I think she's probably watching. And also Carla is on the other end, so thank you, Carla. First of all, and y'all be hearing from her probably later today, but I wanted to thank all of y'all personally for all your prayers, your texts, your calls, your messages, for everyone that's asked for her address, for just everything. Y'all are just the greatest group of people in the world, and we appreciate you so very much. And I hope we don't ever neglect to tell you how much that we love you and are thankful for each of you. So I talked to her just a little bit ago. Her voice sounds strong. Y'all know we had company over the weekend. Our niece, our youngest brother's daughter, and her family had planned this trip several weeks ago in advance. They had both taken off work and to come, or took some days, vacation days. Misty's actually off the weekend, but her husband took some time so he could come with her. And we enjoyed them so much, and Chuck brought Mary over for lunch. They didn't stay long because Mary was really tired, so they went back home, but we were thankful that she got to come for a little while. And she's feeling, I guess, probably decent. You know, my sister tends to kind of downplay everything, and I've realized the seriousness of her condition, and we're trying to get her to realize it too. But she's gonna, if nothing happens and she feels like it, she's gonna go on after a while and let y'all hear from her personally. So I just wanted to thank y'all first of all before I got started cooking. So I'm going to be making something today. I've never made this particular dish before. You know how you're always looking for something different to fix for breakfast, or in our case, if we either eat a late breakfast or an early lunch, and then we eat an afternoon meal. So we basically eat about 2 meals a day. So this is something a little different, and I'm doing one shortcut, and then the other I'm not doing a shortcut. So I will show you some different things that you can do to make it another shortcut. But I'm using, and what I'm making is stuffed brioche bread. And we tell y'all this all the time, but you know, when we do a recipe, we make it our way. And that doesn't mean that it's the way that you have seen it made or you would make it yourself, but it's the way, it's my version. So I'm going to try to use that term. Hopefully you're going to hear that term more and more from me, because I realize that, you know, there are dozens of different ways to make any recipe. This is my version. So it's kind of a version of French toast without the eggs. And yes, we do like eggs, but this is just something a little different. So to kind of speed the process up, I have a bought loaf of vanilla brioche bread that I got at Walmart. It's just a small loaf, and I'm going to, I'll be cutting it and showing y'all that in a little bit. But first of all, I am going to be giving something away today. So, and we're not doing steaks today. I won't tell you what we're looking for, but if you want to be in the drawing to win, I'm giving away a set of one of the digital scales, Pampered Chef. I think they're like $35, $36, I don't know, but I weigh my stuff a lot in the kitchen, and I used to never do that, but I do that now. And I've got strawberries here, and we're gonna go over to the stove. And this recipe is not on our member page yet. And the reason it's not is because this was kind of an altered schedule. Mary was going to cook today. She was on the calendar to cook, but I did not want her in the kitchen today. So I told her that I would make something. It will be on our members page probably within the week, but I'm going to tell you what's in it. So the recipe that's going to be on the member page is going to be the full recipe. I'm making a half a recipe today, and the reason I am is because I used a lot of my strawberries over the weekend in a trifle, so I only have half the strawberries I need, so I'm making a half batch. So I'm going to move over to the stove, and we're going to be going back and forth because I'll have to go over there too to do some more. But I've got my burner on, and I preheated my pot, and I'm using the pot that has the handles that are cool. So my pot is kind of hot, and I'm going to let it sit there for just a minute. I have started heating my pots. These are the titanium pots, and it takes them just a minute to heat. Once they get hot, they retain the heat. But because they are, I don't know, I don't want to say thicker or heavier. They're a little heavier than the other cookware, but they're not, it's not cast iron. And it just takes them a minute to heat up. So I've learned that if you heat the pot up, then it starts the cooking process a little faster. So that's just a little thing that, you know, that I picked up when I started using these pots. So I'm going to, I can feel the heat from the bottom, and I've got about a pound of strawberries. These are fresh strawberries, and they got the caps off of them. And I didn't cut them because some of them are small. I'm going to kind of mash them in here. And because this needs to cool just a little bit, I'm doing this first. So I'm going to use, I'm going to go ahead and put my strawberries in. They smell so delicious. I love strawberries, and strawberries is something that I can eat, and I do eat 2 or 3 a day because they're just so, they're really good for you. And okay, you can hear my pot's hot, they're sizzling. I'm going to go ahead and pour the sugar in there. And I'm only using half the amount of sugar, and we are sponsored by Imperial Sugar, and I'm using 2 cups. Now this may sound like a lot of sugar, but that's what I'm going to use, is 2 cups. And then I'm going to pour about 4 tablespoons of water in here just to kind of get that started. You don't need a lot of water because strawberries have water in them. So I'm going to give this a quick stir. I'm hoping that you can see this, and I don't know if you can or not. Maybe I can get this where you can see it. I'm just going to get this started. Now, if you don't want to do this, and you don't have any strawberries, or you just don't want to fool with it, and you want to do something a lot quicker, just pick you up a jar of strawberry jam. And you can do the same thing with it. But I like to use fresh stuff when I can, so I'm using fresh. And the other thing that I'm using today, I'm going to get these started boiling, and then I'm going to take my masher. I kind of figured I was going to do that. I did this the last time, didn't I? Knocked something over and spilled it. Okay, so I'll have to get me some more lemon juice out. I've got a little bit of lemon juice too that I'm going to put in it. But since I spilled some of that, I'm going to get a little bit more out of the refrigerator and pour in there. You need probably about, I don't know, a couple tablespoons of lemon juice for what I'm using. And this is not freshly squeezed. I'm using the real lemon juice. So I'm going to use about 3 tablespoons, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in there too. Now this is starting to come to a boil really quick, and because that sugar is fine, it dissolves really quickly. I see just a tiny leaf there. I thought I had that all out. But once these come to a boil, I'm going to mash them up real good with my masher. And I'm using the liquid Certo, and this is the same thing as Sure Gel, except it's liquid. And the difference in this, well, one difference in the liquid and the powder, this is what you use to make strawberry jam or jelly with, you know, the little boxes of Sure Gel. that you get around the canning aisle. This is liquid, and you don't add this until it starts boiling. With the powder, you add in at the beginning. And I'm not going to use the whole pack because I'm using half a recipe. So once these start boiling, they've started boiling, I think you can see them. I'm going to start mashing them down. Now, if you were canning strawberry jam to put in jars, excuse me, swallowed air the wrong way. If you were doing this to put in jars, you would do a water bath and all that, but I'm not doing that. This is just fresh that I'm going to use today, and if you have any left over, you can always put it in the refrigerator and use it in a few days. So I'm not putting these in jars. And we got this boiling, and because strawberries are a soft fruit, it doesn't take long to cook them down. I mean, it doesn't take long for them to start mashing down. I want to mash them just a little bit more. I may wind up putting that whole pack of gel in there just because I added that water, and I didn't have the water in my original recipe. So I may do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just take the cut off of this. And if y'all have never used this, I'm cutting the top off of it. If you've never used this, it's just liquid. It's like opaque liquid. And this comes, I think it comes 3 to a pack in a box. And you can get this around the canning aisle where they have mason jars or whatever they're called. They may not be mason anymore. I think they're ball. A lot of them are ball jars now. And they have the rings and the lids and the Sure Gel, and this liquid pectin is also around that area. So I'm going to go ahead and just pour this in here. And I am going to use it all because I put that extra liquid in it. Now this, like anything else, if you've had it in your cabinet and you didn't use it last year and you had some extra left over, make sure the date's good. You don't want to use something that's out of date because it's not a good idea, and also it might work and it might not work, but you don't want to risk it not working. So I'm just going to let this cook for a little bit. And the reason I'm using this big pot instead of a 2-quart pot, I want it to have room to boil, and you can tell it boils up a little bit, bubbles up, and I want it to have room to do that. So I put it in the bigger pot, and when I empty it up, and this is another little tip that some of you may not know, when you want something to cool, and I don't think this bowl's big enough, try to get a shallow bowl. Get one that's not deep, because when you want something to cool, you want a wider surface for it to be in. So, and I already know this is not going to be big enough, so I'm going to have to get another bowl out. But if you put it in like a tall bowl, then you got all that heat coming up. Whereas if you got it in a really round, bigger bowl, then you've got a lot more surface for it to enable it to cool better. So I'm going to grab another bowl here to use, since I'll just get one down here. I'll just get a big mixing bowl. So this is going to give it more room to cool. This smells really nice. Now, in reality, you should let jam cook down because this is really, really thin. I will probably leave the water out of the recipe when I submit this to be put on our member site. So you might want to leave the water out. I told y'all that I'd never made this particular recipe before. I usually do the other where you put it in a jar. So you want to make sure that it gets thick enough that that it's not going to completely soak the bread, because what we're going to do is we're going to slice the bread and we're going to stuff the bread with this strawberry filling. And then we're going to make a butter to go on top of it. So this is French toast that you don't have to have syrup with because it's got strawberry jam inside. You could also do a blueberry jam or compote. You could do blackberries. You could do any kind of fruit that you like, peach or apple. You could stuff that with it. But I thought the strawberry sounded really good, so I opted for the strawberry today. And I'm not going to show the book today. I'm going to wait until I'm with Mary tomorrow if she feels like being on air. But I was so excited the other day to get my Dottie Rambo songbook from Reba Rambo McGuire. And Dan, thank you very much for showing her our video and telling her about us. And it just, she won't never know how excited I was to get this book signed by her to me and Mary, and also a picture of Dottie signed. So it's got some of her beautiful songs in it, and I was just so ecstatic when I knew that they were going to send it. So we'll show that to you tomorrow. And thank you so much, Dan, and thank you, Reba, for being so kind to do that. I told somebody one time it doesn't take a lot to make me happy, and music is one thing that will put a smile on my face. I love music. I love to listen to it. Sometimes I'm sitting on the couch and Mike might be watching a movie or a game show or something, and I've got my headphones on listening to music. It just lifts me up, and I love music. Okay. I'm going to, this is not near as thick as I want it, but I'm still going to use it, and I'm going to just, I'm going to pour this up, and I'm going to, because I want it to start cooling, and I want to get it over there. I want to get over there and do some more work, so I'm going to pour this up here. Get it in the bowl. Now let's see how I'm going to do this. I'm trying to do it where y'all can see it, but I don't want it to splatter either. So don't use that. I love making jelly and jams, and I haven't made any in a year or so, and I actually need to make some. I've got berries in the freezer to make it with. I just haven't made it in a while. So I'm going to leave this here and let this cool, and I will be, when I'm stuffing my bread, I won't be using as much liquid. I'll be mostly putting the strawberries in there. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to put the skillet that I'm going to use to cook this in. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the burner, but I'm going to turn the burner off for now. Move this over here. And we're going to go over here to the, back to the counter. Let me move some stuff around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the butter. And if you're making some kind of flavored butter and you forgot to take your butter out and let it soften, before you put it in the microwave, take it out of the wrapper, undo the wrapper. If you don't, you're going to have a lot of butter left on your wrapper. So take it out of the wrapper and just put it in the microwave for about 10 or 12 seconds, and you can soften it up pretty quick. There's other ways to soften it. You can put a hot glass over it and set it over it, but I do the microwave. That's what I do with mine. So It's easy and doesn't take long to do it. So I'm going to put my stick of butter. This is salted butter. And I'm going to use, let me move this out of the way. I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of imperial powdered sugar. And I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of our Koringe cinnamon. This is cinnamon butter is what I'm making to go on top. Oh, this is a new one. Now, y'all know what I would have done if I hadn't been on air. I would have probably opened this a little easier than I did with the knife, but since I'm on air, I'll open it like this. So I'm going to use a teaspoon of cinnamon. And I'm going to use about a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to pour just a little bit in here. Now this is something on the line of the cinnamon butter that Texas Roadhouse use with their rolls. It's not going to be exactly like it because I'm not putting honey in it. And the reason I use powdered sugar instead of honey is because I didn't want the honey taste because I'm using strawberries. So I just use powdered sugar to sweeten it just a little bit. You don't want it real sweet, but you do want a little bit on it. So I'm just going to whip this real good. Cinnamon smells so good. Now this is a small amount. If you're cooking for a family, you're probably going to want to double or triple this. I've got a little beater that gets this off, but I didn't get it out, so I'm just going to do it with my hands. Now you can make any kind of flavored butter. You can make savory with garlic or, oh, I don't know, a lot of different things you can use. But if you want some kind of a, like a butter with spices, like put like a little bit of cinnamon or nutmeg or allspice or whatever you want to put in it. Just do a little bit of tiny bit of sweetening if you want it a little sweet. And I don't think I needed this big bowl here. I should have got out the 1 cup one. And just make it ahead of time. You can make this ahead of time. If you want to do it in pats, you could roll it up in a real tight, make a log and roll it up in saran wrap, put it in the refrigerator, and then take it out and cut it in pats. But what I'm using today is I'm going to use a cookie scoop and put on top of the hot bread is what my plan is. So, yeah, I'm just going to use a spoon for something else. But since it's out, I'll just use it for this, and I'll get another one. You just think that you got everything out that you need, and there's always something that you don't get out. So you see how much this made. If you're making like breakfast for 4, 6, or 8 people, you're probably going to want more butter than this, because this is, you know, it's not a whole lot, but I'm not going to eat any of this, so all I'm making it for is Mike, and he probably at the most is going to eat 2. And he's not a real big butter person anyway. So I don't want to have a bunch of stuff that I'm going to have to discard. So I'm just doing that. Okay. We'll set our butter aside. Don't have to put the lid on it, but I will since it's there. And then I'm going to rinse out my little rag here, and then we're going to cut the bread. And I'm going to turn the burner on the skillet, turn it on low until I can get back over there and reach it. Now, if I was serving this to guests, I I would cook bacon or sausage or ham or something to go with this. And I actually was going to cook a couple pieces of bacon to put on the platter, and I didn't have any thawed out. So I said, well, you can cook whatever you want to. I was just going to have it to show on the platter to make a pretty presentation. But I would definitely serve it with some kind of breakfast meat. Okay, so I got this in Walmart. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, and what I would do if I was doing this, probably for serving it for a company or for a meal, I would make my own brioche. And for those of you who are not familiar with brioche, it has a high content of eggs in it, and you can make a really beautiful loaf in a loaf pan. I just opted not to do that because of time. But this is vanilla brioche here, and it's not a very high loaf, so you know, not like a regular loaf of bread. So I'm going to show y'all how I'm going to do it. It smells really nice. I love the smell of something that smells good. They say you eat with your eyes, and you definitely do eat with your eyes. But I'll tell you right now, and I've told y'all this before, if it's something that doesn't smell good, you can better believe I am not going to touch it. I will not eat it if it doesn't have a good smell to it. Okay. They bake that in this little pan here, so I'm just kind of carefully getting it out. And because this is not high, I'm going to just make 3 pieces out of this, and I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it because I want it to be big enough that I can stuff it. So I'm just using my bread knife here to cut it. And I know exactly what Mike is going to say. Why did you cut the pieces so big? But the reason I'm cutting them like this, if I would have cut long ways and just made like 6 slices out of this, I wouldn't have enough room to stuff it. And I want enough room to stuff it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little paring knife. Now you don't want to cut all the way down to the bottom, and you don't want to cut all the way across. So leave a little room on both ends and just take your knife and just cut down in it and kind of create a little pocket like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Just make sure you don't go to the bottom. Okay, so now I've got my little pockets created. Get this out of the way. And I'm going to get my, strawberry jam over here, and this is where I'm going to put my milk at. And I'm going to pour the milk over this, but we'll get to that in just a second. And because this is actually still warm, you probably, in reality, you probably should let it cool quite a bit. And it hasn't thickened up yet, but what I'm going to use is I'm going to use off of the top where the strawberries have kind of thickened a little bit. And I'm going to, I hope that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put this in there, push it down in there and stuff it. I want to get as much in there as I can, but I don't want it to overflow. Now this is why you don't need any syrup, because you've got this beautiful jam that's stuffed down in there. Now I'm going to turn that over in a minute, but for right now, I'm going to leave it setting up like that. And I told y'all, and I made French toast lots of times, but I've never made it like this. So this is the first for me, and we're going to see how it turns out, and hopefully it will turn out okay. I think I'm going to leave one out because these are going to be cold. I want at least one to be hot for Mike to have to eat. So I'm going to leave this one laying there. Now I'm going to move back over to the, just briefly, I'm going over to the stove to turn make sure my skillet is getting hot. And I'm going to put the butter in the skillet. Now I said on the recipe to use a whole stick of butter. And I may not use the whole stick at one time. This is a non-stick pan. And I've got another stick of butter here. And it is softened. So I'm going to make sure my pan gets hot. I don't know, maybe just put a tablespoon or two at a time in it. And when I'm making pancakes or anything like this, French toast, I don't put it all in there at one time because butter burns very easily. And so you want to make sure you got enough in there to cook your French toast in, but you don't want so much that it's going to absolutely be brown in it. So I'm just going to kind of stir this around real quick. And I want it to be hot, but I don't want it to burn. So I'm going to move this over here so y'all can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to lay this down. And I've got my milk already measured out. And I've got 2 cups of milk here. Now, you can buy a strawberry milk. So if you wanted to give this a little more flavor, you could use a strawberry milk. I'm just using whole milk. You could also use a heavy cream if you wanted it a little bit richer. But I'm just going to use this. And you're just going to pour this on here. And I'm going to make sure this butter is hot enough to cook it as soon as I get this poured on there. You just want to pour it over it and get that bread soaked in it. Make sure it got on this side. I didn't figure I'd use it all. Now the heavy cream will coat it quicker than the regular milk will, but I'm using the milk. So now I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to real carefully lift this up and put in here. And I'm going to get it brown on both sides, and then I'm going to turn it real easy. And we're going to see if this works or not. We'll know in a few minutes. Now some of my strawberries coming out on that one, but I'm not surprised because okay, I didn't get quite enough butter, didn't get quite brown enough, so I didn't leave that on that side long enough. Let's turn it back over. And this is, if you use a grill, you could use like a grill pan or a griddle. I didn't want the grill marks on it, so that's why I'm using the skillet. But if you have Pampered Chef or any other kind of grill pan, you could do this on a grill pan too, not just in a skillet. Now I'm watching this burner because I don't want it to start browning and getting my butter too brown. Getting a little bit of color on the end of it. Now, you know, when you put eggs on, dip French toast in eggs, you're definitely going to get, you know, it's going to be brown a lot quicker than it is this. This is just something different, yes. And I'm not using eggs. And like I said, this is my version. It's something different. When we make French toast, we always dip it in eggs. This is just a different recipe. So don't think I left it out or I forgot. This is not meant to have eggs in it. When you make it, if you want to do yours with eggs and milk, help yourself and do that. This is just not how I'm doing mine. Okay, it's starting to get a little brown. I want to get a nice brownness on it, get it as crispy as I can without the eggs. I've also got some powdered sugar out. Now, I know this has already got sugar in it, so this is just an option. If you want to shake your plate and kind of sprinkle on top before you put the butter or after you put the butter on it, you could do that, or sprinkle your plate. I'm using a white plate, so you're not going to really be able to see this powdered sugar, but maybe you've got a colored plate where the, you know, a bright, pretty plate like Fiesta ware or something, where the powdered sugar would actually show and make a really pretty presentation. Well, probably, now that side's got a nice little crust on it. So that looks good. I've got part of my trifle left from the weekend, and I still got part of the cake left. And I do hate throwing anything out, but I don't like taking something to someone after I've already done cut a bunch off of it, or I've already used part of it. So I imagine whatever Mike eats today, I imagine it's probably, if Mary wants it, I'll take it over there, but I don't want to take it to anyone to give it to them, because you know, we already have cut off the cake and dipped out of the trifle that I made over the weekend for my guest. And after we ate, I took them over. Actually, I rode with Misty and them over to town, to our little local town, and there's a place in town that there's all kinds of neat little gift stores and shops in Jefferson. But there's one that has some friends of mine that have the, it's like it's just got all kinds of stuff in it. Out back, they have all kinds of metal yard art, and her husband, Angie's husband, built this mining sluice. And some of you may have seen pictures on my page, on my personal page. And it's a big thing. It's on the same concept of panning for gold, like they did back whenever in the 1800s and when they went out west. Well, this is, you buy a bag of dirt, and they have the little sluice boxes, and the water is continually running and recycling, and you pour dirt in the little sluice box and run it in the water, and you find gems in it. And the kids had so much fun doing that, and I think us adults enjoyed it almost as much as the kids did. They found all kinds of stuff in their bag of dirt, and it was so much fun, and they enjoyed it so much. And it was just something that whoops, I got that one on there too long. That one's just a little bit too dark to suit me. We'll put the good one on there. I just wasn't paying enough attention to that. Got a little bit dark, so it will get dark if you leave it in there long enough. That butter is definitely gonna oh, and I did tell y'all earlier that I was going to be giving something away, or at least I think I did. I'm not sure, but I think I did. So I'm going to be giving that set of scales away, and I'll have to tell y'all after we get off air, because I don't have any way for Carla to let me know who the winner is. So yes, I got that turned off. So I'm going to move this back over here. But we will select a winner. And when we select the winner, I will need for you to text me your address. And I need it today. Text me your address to my personal phone number, which is 238-3993. When I call the winner out, and I will have to come back on and put it on there. So we hope that y'all that watch us stay with us to the end and then watch our follow-up so you can, or at least the comments. I don't know that I'll go back on live to do it. I may just put it in a comment. But I'm going to put a little thing of the butter on top. Hopefully that's hot enough that that will melt. And just a little sprinkle of powdered sugar. I want the butter to run off, so it looks like that's what it's going to do. I think this would be, and I'm not going to taste of it. If y'all are wondering if I am, I'm not, but I am going to cut it just so y'all can see it. Now, if you wanted, you know, to do a little set of jam, a little bit of cup of jam on the side, you could, but you can tell that it's got pretty good bit of strawberry in it, and it smells so delicious. It smells wonderful. And I just think this is something different rather than just plain French toast, which French toast is delicious. I didn't mean that to be derogatory toward French toast. French toast is very good, but I just thought this was something that was a little different. And I knew this wouldn't be a real long video, but I thought it would be something that some of you might say, well, that's something my grandkids might like, you know, to have something like a little surprise in the middle. If you wanted to do syrup, you could still use maple syrup or something on top of it. I just personally think it's got enough sweet in it with that strawberry jam, so I don't think you need syrup on it, but certainly if you wanted to, you could put it on there. So I'm really happy that y'all joined me today. I know it's, when there's one of us cooking by ourselves, it's not like we're both together, but I appreciate it so very much. And shout out to my friend Kathy in California. I'm pretty sure she's watching. And again, thank you all so very much for all your kindness toward Mary and her being sick, and your prayers. And thank you to everyone around the world that watches us. We have so many people in different countries that watch us, and we appreciate that. You know, it's so heartwarming to see the different places where people are commenting from. It means a lot to us, and we really thank you that you take the time out to either watch us live or watch us on replay and share our videos and like our videos. So thank you again from both of us. And if Mary feels like it, we will be together tomorrow. If she doesn't, I'll be cooking. And what I told her today, we're going to have a plan A and we're going to have a plan B. And any time that she is not able to cook like last week, the day that she did cook, which she shouldn't have, and then the next day that she wasn't able to, then we'll go to plan B. So thank you for bearing with us, and thank you for watching me today. Be sure to be kind to someone, and also be sure to count your blessings. And as soon as I get the winner from today, I will post it. Make sure, if your name is listed as the winner, that you send me through a text message or either direct message, texting on 903-238-3993. I need your name and address, and we'll get these digital scales in the mail to you. So God bless. I hope everyone has a wonderful Monday, a great start to your week. And if you're out and about, be sure to smile at someone and pay someone a compliment and try to lift someone up today. And I think if we all strove to do that, it would make our little part of the world a happier place. And that's what we can do. We might not can make everyone happy or give everyone the happiness that they need or they deserve. I've always believed happiness comes in increments. And if it's just a little tiny bit of joy that you create for someone, then it's worth it. So thanks again. God bless. And nothing happens. The Lord willing, we'll see y'all tomorrow. So bye-bye, and thanks for joining me.